rocket fired from the Gaza Strip towards southern Israel landed inside Gaza this week, hours after far-right leader and National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir visited Jerusalem's Flashpoint Temple Mount compound. The visit, which sparked threats from Palestinian and pro-Iranian terror groups, is only the promo to what Ben-Gvir intends to do, at least according to his campaign promises. And now I'd like to bring in our expert panel for this week, former coordinator of the Israeli government's policy in the Palestinian territories, Reserve Major General Eitan Dan-Got, and former spokesman for Arab media in the Israeli Prime Minister's office, Ophir Gendelman, and in Ramallah, Palestinian security analyst Muhammad Najib. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today. Eitan, we'll start with you. For our viewers who are not familiar with the security situation and religious situation and a problematic situation in the Temple Mount, share it with us.
Of course. The Temple Mountain was and it will be always the operator for extra, let's say, that will bring, I think, the violence in a high level, and has also always the potential to create kind of fire terrorism in area of Jerusalem and also in the West Bank. By mentioning the Temple Mountain so early under the government the new government establishment day, I think, it got, I think, a minus from the way it has been started, because from security point, there was no doubt the security organization gave Ben-Gvir the opportunity without any kind of hesitation, because of the timing early morning, because of the prayers, etc. But I think who is now in the middle of the circle that is like the outcome of such a thing is Bibi Netanyahu, because the circle of the international community, Arab countries, European, and above all, twice United States spokesman, one the ambassador from Israel, the second one the state secretary from the United States, I think opened a door with a backwind that gave the European country and the others to condemn Israel and to bring earlier than Bibi Netanyahu expected to it.
So, Muhammad, I want to ask you in Ramallah, we've been talking for many years now and we know each other. What is the concern? Because Israel says in each and every stage that there won't be any change in the policy in the mountain. And the Israeli minister has visited the mountain before. Why now? What has changed?
Yes, the Palestinians are deeply concerned that the new Israeli government, where Ben-Gvir and Smotrich are minister, this government seeks to divide the Al-Aqsa Mosque between the Muslims and the Jews, as it did at the Ibrahimi Mosque in Hebron several years ago. Al-Aqsa Mosque is important for the Muslims and for the Arab people. And if there is a violation or changing the status quo in Al-Aqsa Mosque, then those people will revolt against their leaders. So the Arab leaders are concerned because this will make troubles for them and instability in their countries. It's true that Gilad Erdan, the former security minister, visited Al-Aqsa, but he didn't call for the right of Jews to pray there as Ben-Gvir did. So that is the difference between the previous visit
but Muhammad,
as a job visit.
But Muhammad, I'll be tough with you. It's not personal, but as a journalist, as a commentator or interviewer, why do Palestinians have the right to pray on the mountain and Jewish people don't? I mean, if we believe we share the same land and we want to live together on the same land, why not Jewish and only Palestinians?
It's not the question to the Palestinians only, because even the Jordanians who are in charge of the Al-Aqsa Mosque don't accept that.
Okay, so why Muslims yes and Jewish not?
Because they said this belongs to the Muslim only, and it's not to share it with any Christians or Jews or other religions.
And do you hear other voices within the Palestinian arena? Because if we agree on the term that we want to live together here, so we have to share the same land, the same air, and the same accessibility to everywhere, you and us.
Since 2000, the Jews come to visit Al-Aqsa Mosque, but not to practice and to pray there. And as we heard in the past few years and during the electoral campaign of Ben-Gvir and others, because they said that clearly they want to divide the Al-Aqsa Mosque between the Muslims and the Jews. So the Muslims are concerned about their right in the mosque, and the Muslims around the world will not accept that. So the Muslims feel they are guarding this place on behalf of the Muslims around the world and the Arabs around the world. It's not just their own decision to decide or to accept the Jewish side Al-Aqsa Mosque.
Yes, so Mr. Gendelman, I'll turn on to you. You had the mission within the last 13 years to try to explain the maybe impossible mission to the world of Israel's policy vis-a-vis the mountain, because it is the one place that I bet from Jakarta to Nouakchott in Mauritania, every Muslims share the same feelings towards the mountain. Most of them don't know where it is. They couldn't map it, point it on the map, but still they have a picture of Temple Mount. Some of them wouldn't even know to differ between the two mosques, which is the sacred one, but I'll put that aside. But how do you explain to the world that Israel is not trying to change any policy on the mountain? Because the world does not believe us, not the Muslim world, and not the international world, as Eitan mentioned.
Well, I think this mission would be relatively simple because we're telling the truth. Now I have to look at it from, let's look at it from an Islamic point of view. The Islamic Sharia does not forbid Jews from praying at the Al-Haram al-Sharif, the Temple Mount. It is not the Kaaba in Mecca in which only Muslims are allowed to enter. In fact, the Temple Mount is sacred to Islam because it was sacred before to Judaism. What the Palestinians have tried to do in the last 100 years, since Hajj Amin al-Hussein, they tried to disconnect the unequivocal relations between the Temple Mount and the Jewish people. Up until the late 1920s, the Islamic Waqf in Jerusalem said publicly, it's even written in English, that the Temple Mount is part of the Jewish culture and it's sacred to Jews. What the Palestinian leadership since the 20s has tried to do is to disconnect and basically refute this historic truth. Now, Arab countries know that the Palestinians have been using the Temple Mount for years and years as a ploy to gather Arab support and to pressure Israel.
But it works. It works. It worked a year ago in the last operation, Guardian of the Walls in Gaza. It started in Jerusalem. It ignited into Gaza and other places. You see, even this week, the Emirates condemn Israel and run to the UN Security Council. The Jordanians, some of them, even parliament members, speaks in unspoken words that we've heard this week, cursing Israelis and Jewish people. It works for them. It's the Holy Grail, everything you say, and you get the world support.
Well, I don't think that the Arab world is monolithic about this. I think that the Arab regimes know exactly what the Palestinians are doing, and they're not happy with what they're doing. But it seems that when the Palestinian incitement is going that far, then they have to toe the line. But it doesn't mean that they support what the Palestinians are doing. What we're saying is very, very clear. Israel will not change the status quo. The only party that tries to change the status quo is the Palestinians. They want to dictate who enters the compound and who does not. Now, according to the status quo, it is allowed for any Jew, whether he is a cabinet minister or a regular citizen, to visit the place.
So, Eitan, I want to move forward, not backwards. Let's speak about the consequences, because that's a place that can ignite everything. We've seen it in the past. We've seen Ariel Sharon's visit. It doesn't matter who's responsible. That started, that was the match that started everything in 2000, and it can happen now.
It can happen now.
What should Israel do to lower the flames?
That is the main reason that I think that, of course, that what was just now mentioned, everybody has the right to go there while keeping the status quo. But when you are a minister, especially as a red flag, when you are a new minister, everybody is looking in you, everybody is looking of each word you are making in your speeches. You have to wait and to put the mission in your task as a Minister of Internal Security above all about yourself. I think the timing should be waited. Maybe Bibi Netanyahu want to end this kind of scenario that he will last
what you're saying, Eitan, is that Minister Ben-Gvir went to the mountain because of his personal political reasons and not looking at Israel's internal security.
Not even though, about the government policy that was not. Today is the first day of the cabinet meeting. Nothing between. You are going there when you are the red flag. In 2 months from now, you have the Ramadan. So the incitement now has been started towards the government. And I'm looking what will be at the end of March. I'm seeing incitement, escalation, using the Temple Mountain by Israeli Arabs, by others, will be one of the main things to put above all Hamas, which is staying in its place and looking on the Temple Mountain as the goalkeeper for all the Palestinians, also Israeli Arab, and from point of Hamas, they would like to see escalation running up in the West Bank.
Mohammed Najib, back to you. So looking prospectively to the future, what should be done to lower the flames? Because it's not in Israel's interest, and I believe not in the Palestinian interest as well, you know, to start a new riots, terror, etc. At the end, we all lose.
Yes, as General Ben-Gvir said, I agree with him. And we know that the current Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu was also Prime Minister for the past 10 years before Lapid came to the office. And he never thought to visit Al-Aqsa Mosque. Why? Because he knows the implications of such visit and the consequences of such visit. But the current Minister of National Security, instead of maintaining the Israeli security, he risked the Israeli security. As if the visit took place during the day and the people were there and clashed with Ben-Gvir and his police guards, then Hamas cannot stop and it will fire rockets, and we see what's happened in May 21. So that will be a problem. So this is the issue. I think
but Mohammed, if it's a provocation, and you understand that it's a provocation, and others, so why falling into that very, very simple provocation? Just you know, ignore it, and there it ends.
That's the issue, is that the Palestinians, but it's not the Palestinians, the Jordanians, the Emirates, whom are cancelled Netanyahu's visit to Abu Dhabi, which was scheduled for Sunday, the Saudi Arabia, the United States, which is the closest ally of Israel, the European Union. No one in this world didn't denounce and strongly condemn the visit, because change the status quo, it will risk the two-state solution, it will flare the region and the instability.
Yes.
So I think what has happened wasn't a wise move by Ben-Gvir, and I don't know how the Prime Minister Netanyahu has allowed him to do that.
Mohammed Najib in Ramallah, thank you very much. Last quick question to you, Mr. Gendelman. Is there a way that Israel can win that battle of words and threats, or we are doomed when we speak of Temple Mount?
We can definitely win it, and we won it a few times, because we're showing what the Palestinians are doing. Those lies that they're spreading as if Israel wants to divide the place between Jews and Muslims, a total lie. As if Israel wants to change the status quo, a total lie. What we're doing, what should be done, is to have this dialogue with the Arab states. They know exactly what the Palestinians are doing, because this is the only tool that the Palestinians have in order to influence the rapprochement between Israel and the Arab world. Unfortunately, the Arab states have accepted the Palestinian false position on this sensitive issue.
Ophir Gendelman, Eitan Dan Got, Mohammed Najib in Ramallah, thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us today.